Alright, what's going on, guys and gals? And we are back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist and I'll listen to the entire discography and I give my thoughts on it. The rules go kind of like this. The band in question must have 5 or more original studio albums. Cover albums can count. Generally, I don't talk about live or acoustic albums unless the tracks are mostly original in that form. So, here we go. This week, we feature Evanescence. That's right. So going into a little bit of a diva phase here in this run of All In. So I have no concert experiences with them. However, my granddaughter does, who, as I'm taping this video, she just turned 11 today, so happy birthday if you're seeing this. So her dad actually took her the other weekend to Jiffy Lube Live, where, formerly Nissan Pavilion, where I saw Ozfest. So he took her there to see Evanescence, and she just had a ball. Like, I was so happy for her. Her very first concert. And I actually looked at some of the vids on YouTube of that show, and they put on a damn good show from what I saw there. I can only imagine, like, the experience they were having, like, her and her dad. Like, they were, like, almost, like, front row. Like, I hope she had a great time. She seems like she did. But, anyhow, that was more so her concert experience, but no, I never got to experience seeing them live, but from what I saw in the videos, I'd go see them. So, they have a total of 5 original studio albums. Now, I'm not fully going to cover the album Synthesis, because it's mostly re-recordings of, like, older tracks from that point on. But they did do a couple of exclusive tracks to that album, so I will at least touch on those a little bit. So that's why I say 5 original studio albums. So they range from their album Fallen in 2003, their debut, all the way up to this year, Sanctuary, which would be this album right here. I did get this at Walmart. So yeah, they still sell physical media. You gotta look really hard for it. So, getting to the meat of the video here. So, we'll talk about Fallen. Now, I remember first hearing Evanescence right when this came out. Like, Bring Me to Life was, like, the breakout track. It hit the airwaves like wildfire, just out of nowhere. I mean, even pop stations were picking this up. So, yeah, Amy Lee and company, they became very popular very quickly here. I remember, going back to one of my old concert experiences, I remember, like, 105.7 a local rock station here in Central PA. How oftentimes you go to a concert, and, the local rock station to that area has, like, their mobile, like, their van sitting there with their table, and they give away, like, the merch and all that good stuff. Well, I remember they were, like, live on location there, and, of course, you could hear the broadcasts while, they're chilling out at the van and whatnot. And I remember them playing Shinedown, which came out right about this time when Leave a Whisper came out, and they also played Bring Me Back to Life. And meanwhile, it was 2003, same year this came out. It was 2003. We were watching Kiss and Aerosmith perform live that night, and of all bands to open up Saliva. So that's really the closest thing to a concert memory that I have personally with them, was hearing their song while, at a radio station van, while they were live on location. So that's really the extent of my concert experience there. But, anyhow, let's talk about the actual album. And GMC, as you probably might know, he's very into the divas. So he was more into this than I was. So here we start off with Going Under. That would be their not their breakout song, but it's like the follow-up single. Very good stuff. And of course, Bring Me to Life, very popular. I mean, I would say it's probably the most popular song still till this day. Then we have Everybody's Fool. We have My Immortal, which is also popular. Very cool song. Sort of like a slower song. Not quite ballad, but like, she's actually a pretty good pianist. I mean, you get a lot, like, if you like piano music, they're definitely good at that. You got Haunted, you got Tourniquet, and then not a Marilyn Manson cover either. And then you have Imaginary, Take Over Me, Hello, Last Breath, and Whisper. And yeah, very solid album right there. And then moving on, we get 2006's The Open Door. Now, here we get Call Me When You're Sober and Lithium. They're like the two big tracks on this one. So, what do we get here? Sweet Sacrifice, Call Me When You're Sober, Weight of the World, Lithium, and no, that is not a Nirvana cover either. We get Cloud 9, Snow White Queen, Lacrimosa, I think that's how you say that. Like You, Lose Control, The Only One, Your Star, All I'm Living For, and Good Enough. So, moving on to the third album, we get the self-titled Evanescence album in 2011. So, yeah, about 5 years in between this and the last one. Yeah, did some touring, took a break, came back. Now, I don't remember hearing any of this album on regular radio at all. So, the only way I knew about it, like, the only song I remember hearing was What You Want. And that actually was, I actually heard that on Sirius XM's Octane. But that was, like, the only place I heard any of this album until I went back and listened to the whole thing just a little bit ago. But I mean, compared to the first two, nothing real memorable, but it wasn't bad either. But yeah, definitely Tell Me What You Want would be the top song in this one for sure. So after that, I told you we wouldn't really discuss Synthesis because it's mostly like their own covers, I guess, re-recordings. But they did do a song called High, Low, and Imperfection, which is exclusive to that album. So then moving on, we got 2021, The Bitter Truth. So their first all-original album in 10 years at this point. And we get the song, we get Artifact / The Turn. We have Broken Pieces Shine, The Game Is Over, Yeah Right, Feeding the Dark, Wasted on You, Better Without You, Use My Voice, Take Cover, Far From Heaven, Part of Me, and Blind Belief. And then, oh, that's cool. So, you also get a cover, if you got the Target edition, you also get a cover of Cruel Summer by Bananarama, which I think Ace of Base also covered that too, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have a cover of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, which is on the Gears 5 soundtrack. Very cool cover. I believe Tantric also covered that song too sometime in the earlier 2000s. I like hearing like other bands' takes on originals, so that's pretty cool. So, moving on to their latest album after 5 years, we have Sanctuary. And so this is one thing I really miss about physical media. Like, you don't get this with Spotify or downloads. Of course, you got your little booklet with all your lyrics. You can sing along. But check this out. You get a patch. This is like limited edition, Walmart edition, I believe. But yeah, you don't get shit like this with like Spotify or, Amazon downloads. It's just, there's just something different about like opening up a physical copy of a disc, Or those of you who are like old school and were really into it, the records, get the artwork on the disc, that's pretty cool. But getting to the album itself. Now, before the release of this album, they did release a standalone called Fight Like a Girl. Very cool song. And then, moving on to the actual album, we have Beautiful Lie, Tell Me When You Had Enough, Who Will Follow You, Rapture, and I would say like the best song out of the whole album, and the most popular, Afterlife. Love that song. And then we have the title track, Sanctuary. We have How Do I Heal, About Us, Calm Down, Self-Destruct, Forever Without You, and Wide Open Heart. And yeah, I like this album a lot. I've listened to it probably about 4 or 5 times now at this point. Good stuff for 2026. So, yeah, I love it. So, as far as ranking them, you know, very small discography they have here. We're just going to do one big era. Why not? So, ranking at the top, I'm going to say Fallen. You know, no question. I mean, they just came right out of the gate with this album. Good stuff here. So, and I would say Sanctuary, believe it or not, it's definitely close. I'd say definitely their best work they did since like the 2000s for sure. But as far as the least favorite, I'm not going to say the worst, but the least favorite, I'm going to say they're self-titled. I don't know, maybe I didn't listen to it quite enough yet to really get into it, but nothing memorable compared to like Fallen and Sanctuary or The Open Door. But good stuff. And I'm so happy that like my granddaughter can actually relate to me musically with them. Like they're like it's kind of hard to relate to like younger generations with your music, you know. But yeah, Gen Alpha is listening to them for sure. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this All In featuring Evanescence. So we continue our little diva theme with our next band coming up next week. Find out who it is.